Okay, let's talk a little bit about maths then. So Python, being a programming language, just like any other programming language, can do basic mathematic operations. So let's say, for example, if we put print so that we can see what's going on with this, and then inside that print, let's add two numbers together. So let's add 5 and 7 together. So if we run that, it says we need to save it as usual. We'll just save it as maths for now. So you see 5 plus 7 equals 12. So that's nice and straightforward. We can do subtractions in a very similar way. So 5 take away 2. If we run that, we should get 3, and we get 3. And you can do multiply. So let's say if we wanted to multiply 10 by 2. So we don't use an x like this, because x is a variable, and that's just going to confuse your program. What we do is we use this asterisk, which if you can't find that yourself, if you hold shift and press 8 along the top bar, you should be able to find it there. So if we did 10 times 2, let's run that. So that should give us 20, and we get 20. So if we want to do divide, that's just a forward slash. It looks a little bit like a fraction, which makes it a bit easier to remember. So if you do run, you get 10 divided by 2, that's 5. We can also do powers. So if we did, say, 5 to the power of 2, to do powers you just put the multiply sign in twice. 5 to the power of 2, so that's obviously 5 times 5. If we run that, it should be 25, and we get 25 back. Some of these operations work on strings as well. So let's say if we took the string of hello, we could say multiply that by 3. So let's put our multiply in 3. If we run that, it's going to take the string hello and print it out 3 times, straight away, one after the other. So to make it a little bit more readable, you might want to put a space in there after the hello. Run that. Hello, hello, hello. So you could pretend you're a policeman. Right, so other things we can do, we can add strings together as well. So if we put an add, put another string in there, we'll put world. And then if we run this, press OK, we get hello and world. It's added them together, made them into a single string and printed that out. Other things we can do little bits of algebra as well. So if we knock that down a line to make some space at the top, if we say x is equal to 5, and then we print x, if we run that, we should get 5. Yep. And we can do things like x times 4, so that should give us 20. So just like the algebra that you do in your math lessons. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, this is boring, I want to do some really fun math stuff. I'm sure that's what you're thinking right now. So what we can do, we can import. This is a function in Python that lets you bring other bits of code in, bigger bits of code that people have made already that will already include useful things. It's one of the main features of Python that makes it really popular with beginners. So if we import, we can import a thing called math, which has got loads of pre-built math functions in there. One of them, for example, would be math.pi, which is pi. So if you run this module, you can see here it outputs a value for pi up to, I don't even know how many decimal places that is, but it's pretty accurate, and it's a pretty good example of pi if you were going to work out the area of a circle or something like that. Some of the other functions that are built into math.pi that you might find useful are things like there's math.cos, which is going to tell you the cosine, math.tan, which will tell you the tangent, and of course if you've got those two, you'll also have math.sin, which will tell you the sine. So you might use these if you're doing something like Pythagoras' theorem, or working out sides of a triangle or the angles of a triangle. Now if you were going to do that, you'd put your angle inside here, or your side, or whatever your sum calls for, but you could save those as variables. You could ask the user to input those. Whoops, I just noticed actually. That needs to be lowercase or it's not going to work. So yep, you could have those as variables that you've got the user to input. You could set them just as numbers. There's all sorts of things you could do. You could even put further maths inside there to work something out. Now let's mention a little bit more just about this import at the top. So let's say you've been doing some code and you've used something like math.py. It runs fine like it did down here. Now let's say you've changed your code. You don't need math.py anymore because you're going to print something else. You've changed everything about how it works and you're going to print green or something instead. So now you don't need this import math anymore. You don't need to import it because you're not using it. So you should really delete it because it's going to save you some runtime on your code and make your code run a little bit faster. Obviously there's not much of an impact now, but if you have a really big piece of code that's quite complicated, it does start to make a difference. It's not going to hurt anything if you leave it there, but again, like I said, it will start slowing down your code even if it's only ever so slightly. Now, in the occasion that you delete that and you try to use math.py without having imported math first, it's going to throw a bit of a wobbler. So you can see here it's saying you've got an error and it says it's on line 1 and it's the error is about the line print math.py, and your error is the name math is not defined. So that's because math isn't a standard Python function. It doesn't know what you're talking about unless you import math. So now that math is here, it knows what you're talking about when you say math.py. So if we run that again, we just get pi again, just like before. Now, to practice this, I'd like you to try and write a piece of code that asks the user for a radius and then calculates the area and the circumference of a circle. If you can't remember the equations to work these out, just do a quick search on Google. You should be able to find them almost straight away.